He tried to humiliate me in public, smiled while everyone laughed. I stood there in silence, pretending it didn't hurt, pretending I didn't notice the way he enjoyed it. What he didn't know was that this wasn't the moment he won. It was the moment everything started to turn. I didn't expect him to say it out loud. That's what hurt the most. We were at a public dinner, his colleagues, their partners, people I barely knew but was trying to make a good impression on. The table was loud with conversation, glasses clinking, laughter bouncing from one side to the other. I sat beside him, quiet, composed, listening more than speaking. Then he laughed. Not with me, at me. "Well," he said, waving his hand casually, "she doesn't really understand how these things work." The table went silent for half a second. Then someone laughed. Another followed. Not cruel laughter, worse, polite laughter, the kind that pretends it's harmless while cutting just as deep. My face burned, but I didn't move. I felt every eye shift toward me, waiting to see how I'd react, waiting for embarrassment, for tears, for me to shrink. On the drive home, he acted like nothing had happened. He talked about work, about traffic, about how good the food was, like he hadn't turned me into a joke an hour earlier. I stared out the window, watching streetlights blur past, my reflection staring back at me like a stranger. "You're quiet," he said casually. "I'm fine," I replied. He sighed, not annoyed, disappointed. That was always worse. "You know," he said, keeping his eyes on the road, "you make things awkward when you get sensitive like that." Sensitive. The word settled into my chest like a weight. "I didn't say anything," I whispered. "That's the problem. You shut down. Then everyone feels uncomfortable." Everyone. Not me, not how I felt. Everyone else. At home, he didn't wait long. "I was just joking," he said, loosening his tie. "Normal couples tease each other." I nodded slowly. "People like you more when you don't take things personally," he added. "You should work on that." Work on that. As if humiliation was a flaw I needed to fix. That night, I lay awake while he slept peacefully beside me. My mind replayed the dinner again and again, his tone, the laughter, the way no one defended me. Then my mind did something worse. It turned on me. Maybe I really am too sensitive. Maybe I embarrassed him. Maybe this is my fault. That's how it always started. He never raised his voice, never called me names directly. It started with something small, so small that I almost ignored it, like I had ignored everything else. We were getting ready to leave the house when his phone buzzed on the counter. I wasn't trying to look, I really wasn't, but the screen lit up and the name flashed for half a second before he flipped the phone face down. Too fast, too careful. "Who was that?" I asked, keeping my voice light. "No one," he replied instantly. "Work. Work." The same answer he always used when he didn't want questions. I nodded and said nothing, but my chest tightened because I had heard that tone before, the one he used when he wanted the conversation to end. Later that evening, we sat in the living room, the TV on but muted. He scrolled through his phone, smiling at something I couldn't see. "What's funny?" I asked. He glanced up, surprised. "Nothing, just a stupid video." He didn't turn the screen toward me. I told myself not to assume, not to spiral, not to become the version of me he said I was. But something inside me whispered, "Pay attention." Over the next few days, the pattern grew clearer. He started stepping outside to take calls, lowering his voice when he spoke, locking his phone when he left the room. Once I walked into the kitchen and caught him mid-message. He jumped slightly, then laughed it off. "You scared me," he said. I apologized automatically. That's when it hit me. I stopped pretending after that. Not because I wanted answers, but because my body had already accepted what my heart was still afraid to say. He became careful in a way that felt rehearsed. His phone never left his hand. His tone softened whenever I entered the room. He started calling me sweetheart again, like affection could erase suspicion. "You seem distant," he said one night, sitting beside me on the couch. "I just don't want us fighting," I replied. He smiled, relieved. That smile told me everything. A few days later, he said he'd be working late again. I nodded, kissed his cheek, and wished him luck like a supportive wife. As soon as the door closed, I exhaled. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I waited. Around midnight, I heard his car pull into the driveway. I stayed in bed, lights off, breathing slow. He walked past the bedroom without checking on me. That had never happened before. The next morning, while he showered, his jacket lay folded on the chair. I wasn't snooping, I wasn't searching, I was confirming. My fingers slid into the pocket slowly. Another receipt. Same hotel, different date. My chest tightened, but my hands stayed steady. I folded it back exactly the way it was and placed the jacket where he'd left it. When he came out of the bathroom, I didn't confront him. That was the hardest part, pretending nothing had changed when everything had. I became calm in a way he hadn't seen before. No questions, no reactions, no hurt expressions for him to correct. And that calm made him careless. "You've been different lately," he said one morning, watching me from across the kitchen. "Better," I replied. He smiled, satisfied. That smile told me I was doing it right. I stopped asking when he'd be home, stopped checking the clock, stopped flinching when his phone buzzed. Instead, I listened. One evening, while we were sitting together, I casually mentioned something I knew would tempt him. "My sister invited me to stay with her this weekend," I said, like it didn't matter. "I think I'll go. You'll have the house to yourself." His reaction was quick, but not quick enough. "Oh," he said, trying to sound neutral. "That's nice." Nice. Relief flickered across his face before he caught it. That weekend, I packed a small bag and kissed him goodbye, like always. I didn't accuse him. I didn't confront him at home. Truth doesn't land hard in private. It lands hard when there are witnesses. A few nights later, we were invited to another dinner. Same circle, same laughter, same polite smiles. The kind of place where people pretend nothing ugly ever happens. He seemed relaxed, confident, almost happy. He had no idea. We sat down, drinks were poured, conversations overlapped. And then, like he always did, he found a moment. "So," he said, glancing at me with that familiar grin, "she's been a little emotional lately." A few people laughed softly. There it was again. I felt my heart beat once, slow and steady. I didn't rush. I didn't interrupt. I waited until the laughter faded. Then I spoke. "Do you want to explain," I said calmly, "why someone else was in our house while I was gone?" Silence hit the table like a dropped glass. He froze. "What are you talking about?" he asked too quickly. I looked at him, not angry, not shaking. "I know about the hotel. I know about the messages. And I saw her walk through our front door." Someone shifted. I didn't answer his calls. Not the first one, not the second, not the ones that came late at night when guilt usually finds its courage. My phone lit up again and again on the table beside me. I watched it without touching it, like it belonged to someone else now. He texted instead. "You embarrassed me. That wasn't fair. We should talk privately." Privately. That word used to pull me back in, used to make me explain myself, used to make me feel like I owed him calm. This time, it meant nothing. The next morning, he showed up. I was standing by the window when I saw his car outside. My chest tightened. Not with fear, but with recognition. This was the part where he tried to regain control. "I just want to talk," he said when I opened the door. He looked different, smaller, like confidence had finally drained out of him. "You didn't want to talk when you were laughing at me," I replied. "That was a joke. You made it something else." I studied his face, still rewriting the moment, still hoping I'd doubt myself. "I didn't make anything. I stopped protecting you." That unsettled him. "You ruined everything," he snapped. "People are asking questions." I nodded slowly. "Good." He stared at me, confused. "You wanted this?" "No," I said. "I wanted respect. This is just what happened when I stopped accepting less." I didn't wake up happy the next day. I woke up calm. No tight chest, no rehearsed explanations in my head, no fear of saying the wrong thing. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you only get when you stop fighting yourself. I stayed alone for a while after that, not because I was broken, but because I needed to learn who I was without constantly adjusting my voice, my reactions, my feelings to fit someone else's comfort. Mornings became slower. Coffee tasted stronger. Silence stopped feeling heavy. I caught myself smiling at small things. Sunlight on the floor, music playing softly in another room, things I hadn't noticed before because I'd been too busy bracing myself. He tried once more, not with anger, not with excuses, with nostalgia. He sent a message about a memory, a trip we'd taken, a joke only we understood. For a moment, my thumb hovered over the screen. Then I put my phone down, because missing someone doesn't mean you should return to the place that made you smaller. Weeks later, I ran into one of the people from that dinner.